Welcome to the Digital Academy. Welcome to Conscience.
Conscience and Digital Academy podcast.
Yeah, buddy.
I can actually see that it's recording now, so I can tell when you're recording.
Yep. Yeah, man. So, okay. How are you doing?
Good, man. Bit of a time difference for us, but I'm glad you're up late. It's only 8:30 here. It's 11:30 there.
11:30, yeah. Julian, have you in bed? Guys, if you're checking this out on my channel, this is my buddy Wilkie. I guess the reverse. I'm his buddy Mainz. But Wilkie, the question I wanted to ask is, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses in like an octagon situation?
Okay, let's see. The horse-sized duck would be pretty savage.
Oh man, that's an insane fight.
The duck-sized horses
100
would be easy to kick around. I could kick
Yeah,
them.
but you gotta assume aggression, man. So that's 100 little ankle biters.
Yeah,
all at
true.
once.
That's true. I'd go for the horse-sized duck and just try and kick its ass.
No, I think. Okay. Here's the next question. These are my three icebreaker questions.
All right.
If you had to have the same theme song play every time you walked into any room for the rest of your life, what song would it be?
That's tough. It'd probably be something that you wouldn't know, like No Effects, The Decline.
But remember, it'd get hardcore annoying after a while, right?
Yeah, okay.
So you probably want to pick something pretty neutral. It's funny because you might. Sorry, I should let you out. I'm just answering my own
I don't know.
question.
Okay, I'm just thinking like No Effects, The Decline is probably my favorite song of all time, but I don't want to get sick of it. I wouldn't want to get sick of it.
Which you would.
It would have to be something classic like CCR, like
Think of how much of an Sorry, man. Think how much of an interruption it would be to your life if work everywhere, man.
Oh, geez, man. I don't know. Something chill by CCR or something classic rock, I'd say. Something that doesn't annoy people, but something that doesn't annoy me either. I don't know, man. That's a tough question. I'd say something by CCR. I don't know what song. Okay. I don't know what song.
I agree, CCR, though. I agree, like the soft rock. I would almost wonder if you'd want to go instrumental, but I don't know. What's the most money you've ever drunkenly spent at McDonald's?
Back when Big Macs were $1, I think I ate 5 Big Macs once, but the most money I've ever spent is definitely on the double quarter pounder BLT meal with a large fry and a large Coke. It's the fucking best.
Nice, man.
That's like a $13 meal. But there's no, up here in North Island, there's no McDonald's, right? There's only A&W. It's the only fast food restaurant that we got. There isn't a McDonald's for three.
For what?
It's a 3-hour drive to get to McDonald's.
You went a bit choppy there, man.
You're kind of free. You're kind of freezing a little bit. Yeah, you're choppy.
That's weird. It's gonna be interesting to see how that comes out in recording.
Now you're not choppy.
To me, I look smooth, and you looked choppy for that little moment. So it's.
And I look really smooth up in my little. I only.
Oh, you always look smooth, man.
Yeah.
That's more. Hey, a funny guy. Yeah, man. I think this quality is pretty decent.
Yeah, good enough for on YouTube, anyway.
Yeah, man. Do you want to? So what my idea was I have a few. We talked about the general theme of mental illness and mental health. And so I got a series of short videos lined up. And I think what would probably sound best is if we play the video and then talk a bit after rather than talking over the video. Because I think these Zoom things gets challenged when we talk at the same time.
Right.
Because you can see how obviously you've done Zoom a million times, but I don't think it does well merging
audio.
Simultaneous audio.
So we'll watch it, then talk.
Exactly. That's a way easier way to say it. Okay.
So is it recording just your screen, or can you see my little box at the top? Oh yeah, now I see. Right on.
Buddy, I'm assuming it's following my lead.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you read that quote? Like, can you see it?
They
And
carried
everything?
all they could bear, and then some, including a silent awe for the terrible power of the things they carried. By Tim O'Brien, The Things They Carried.
All right, buddy.
This is good because I have PTSD. This first video is about PTSD
Yeah,
because I got PTSD from traumatic injuries. So this is cool.
I know, bro.
I can
We've
relate.
talked about. I think this is the thing is I think as I show some of these, if you want to talk about stuff, because your ability to articulate some of this stuff.
If I go like this and put both hands up in the air, it means I want you to stop the video.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. Ready?
Yep. Is there supposed to be audio here?
You're not hearing any audio there?
No, are you?
Oh, balls. Yeah. Okay. I got an idea. One sec. Okay. Can you hear me, Wilk?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I think our audio is still going to be good all the way up to the start of this video. And then the recording, I don't know if it got that or not, but I'll just start this video again, okay? And can you give me the thumbs up if you do hear it?
Okay.
Many of us will experience some kind of trauma during our lifetime. Sometimes we escape with no long-term effects, but for millions of us, those experiences linger, causing symptoms like flashbacks, nightmares, and negative thoughts that interfere with everyday life. This phenomenon, called post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, isn't a personal failing. Rather, it's a treatable malfunction of certain biological mechanisms that allow us to cope with dangerous experiences. To understand PTSD, we first need to understand how the brain processes a wide range of ordeals, including the death of a loved one, domestic violence, injury or illness, abuse, rape, war, car accidents, and natural disasters. These events can bring on feelings of danger and helplessness, which activate the brain's alarm system, known as the fight, flight, freeze response. When this alarm sounds, the hypothalamic, pituitary, and adrenal systems, known as the HPA axis, work together to send signals to the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the network that communicates with adrenal glands and internal organs to help regulate functions like heart rate, digestion, and respiration. These signals start a chemical cascade that floods the body with several different stress hormones, causing physiological changes that prepare the body to defend itself. Our heart rate speeds up, breathing quickens, and muscles tense. Even after a crisis is over, escalated levels of stress hormones may last for days, contributing to jittery feelings, nightmares, and other symptoms.
So you can hear that all okay and stuff?
Yeah, I can hear that great. Do you pause it?
Yeah, I paused it. Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, my biggest struggle is nightmares, man. And I've been on this medication now for a year and a half at the same dosage. And I'm starting to notice nightmares are coming back. Negative thoughts, like you wouldn't believe. All I think about is like the worst shit you can possibly think about. And that fucks with my dreams, right? So my dreams are literally the worst things that I can possibly imagine. Like my dreams that I have at night are literally the worst things that I can imagine.
Man,
The worst things I can conjure up.
the ability of, and I'm not laughing at you, obviously, man. I'm laughing at, it's incredible how good our brain is at finding our insecurities.
Yeah.
you know, and like especially if you're stressed before you go to bed and if you're anxious about stuff, and then all of a sudden that manifests into, like you said, like the worst possible things that could happen in your personalized
In
world.
my perception, yeah.
Yeah, man. And then, well, because this is the thing, right? It's like post-traumatic stress disorder. It's like the trauma was a long time ago, but the effect it's having on you is like a disorder.
It's very modern, yeah.
Yeah. So now it's affecting you as a stress disorder, right? And the idea of a stress disorder affecting your dreams makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
And
and then my dreams affect my day
yeah,
because they're so real and so profoundly terrible. I can't shake them, right? And then the dreams become regular thinking. The dreams become part of my regular daily process. And that's what fucks me up. And the thing is this medication that I take, it's called Latuda. It's an atypical antipsychotic. It was made for schizophrenia because I also have auditory hallucinations. And I think the auditory hallucinations are a product of the stress. It's like it's like gears grinding, like metal grinding. And I think that I developed these hallucinations to avoid my thoughts. And that's what I deal with now. And the medication works so good, but I've noticed lately that the dreams are coming back. I'm starting to have bad dreams again. And I'm talking about every single night. And I remember every single piece of it because they're so intense, right? And I can't shake them. I can't shake them.
Wow. So you're having these vivid dreams that you're actually remembering them all.
Yeah, and they're terrible, man. It's about murder and killing and injuries and the most disgusting things you can do to a human body I dream about. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Wilk, at this point, do you want to just say like a little bit about like what you think? Like, is this all back to your accident? Are you saying?
It's from the brain injury from the car accident.
Yeah.
I don't really have PTSD about the actual car accident. I have PTSD about the dreams that I have as a result of the brain injury.
Whoa, okay. Never heard you say it like that.
I've never even thought of it like that.
Yeah, because of course the dreams will, and the thing is that even if your dreams are affecting you unconsciously too, not just, yeah, it's like an underlying negative buzz constantly, almost.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean it's like it's always there, and when it wasn't there, I was suffering from hallucinations to mask it. And now because the medication that I take, I don't have the hallucinations anymore at all. They're gone, like a switch went off. The hallucinations are gone. But now what I think, I got to renew my medication prescription this month. And I think I'm going to ask my doctor about upping the dosage because I think that I'm developing some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not as effective as they were. What's the word I'm looking for?
Well, you're getting like some resiliency or some.
Yeah, resiliency. That's it. So I think I'm going to try upping the meds because as soon as the dreams start coming back, and then I start carrying the weight of those dreams in the day, then I know the noises will come back too. So I think that the dreams coming back is kind of like the tip of the iceberg, and I can notice it. It's like the first sign that I have that shit's not right again. So I think I'm going to try upping the dose of the medication and see if that takes. Mainly because I think that I don't sleep well, right? I battled insomnia for a long time because I didn't want to go to sleep because I didn't want to have these dreams. So when I'm dreaming a lot, I'm also waking up a lot. And I'll wake up from a dream and I'll be like, my heart will be racing and it'll be terrible. And then I'll fall asleep and I'll slip right back into the same fucking dream. It's crazy.
If you're waking up a lot, you're going to remember more dreams just because you're waking up a lot. Right? Because if you say, think about the dreams that the average person remembers are the dreams that they were dreaming right when they wake up, or if they wake up to like take a piss in the middle of the night or go to the bathroom or whatever in the middle of the night.
And I spend a lot of time in that state.
Yeah.
of
So you'll
just
remember,
waking up or just falling asleep.
right? You're not at as
Sorry?
deep of a level. Well, you're sorry, man. You're not at a deep as of a level of dream, right? You're
Right.
even more. You might have like, yeah, you're having these sleep apnea experiences or whatever, and it's like that actually will make you remember your. At least I don't know, like at least logically, it makes sense that you would remember more dreams if you're sleeping more shallowly.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Crazy. And that's what happens. And I spend a lot of time in that state of either just woken up or just falling asleep. I spend most of my nights in that way when the dreams are bad. Now, the dreams have only been bad the last couple of weeks. They've been coming back, right?
Now,
So
some of that might be.
I don't know.
Some of that
I
might
think
be
it's just a medication thing. The
right.
medication that I take works like a motherfucker. It works like a motherfucker.
Wilk,
So
man,
I need more.
this is a kids show, man. You got to.
All right, fucking kids.
Now the kids are asleep, but no.
Yeah,
Okay, so
kids are asleep.
next slide. Let me show you,
Okay.
man.
Did we watch the rest of that video?
No. I'm gonna go back to it.
Most people, these experiences disappear within a few days to 2 weeks as their hormone levels stabilize. But a small percentage of those who experience trauma
This one's kind of
have persistent problems, sometimes vanishing temporarily, only to resurface months later. We don't completely understand what's happening in the brain, but one theory is that the stress hormone cortisol may be continuously activating the fight, flight, freeze response while reducing overall brain functioning, leading to a number of negative.
All right, well, I'm gonna pause this, man. It seems like it's like
Let it load a bit.
Yeah, it's super hiccupy. Let's just go to the next one.
Sure.
Depression is the leading cause of disability in the world. In the United States, close to 10% of adults struggle with depression. But because it's a mental illness, it can be a lot harder to understand than, say, high cholesterol.
Do you hear that okay?
Yep.
One major source of confusion is the difference between having depression and just feeling depressed. Almost everyone feels down from time to time. Getting a bad grade, losing a job, having an argument, even a rainy day can bring on feelings of sadness. Sometimes there's no trigger at all. It just pops up out of the blue. Then circumstances change, and those sad feelings disappear. Clinical depression is different. It's a medical disorder, and it won't go away just because you want it to. It lingers for at least 2 consecutive weeks and significantly interferes with one's ability to work, play, or love. Depression can have a lot of different symptoms: a low mood, loss of interest in things you'd normally enjoy, changes in appetite, feeling worthless or excessively guilty, sleeping either too much or too little, poor concentration, restlessness or slowness, loss of energy, or recurrent thoughts of suicide. If you have at least 5 of those symptoms, according to psychiatric guidelines, you qualify for a diagnosis of depression. And it's not just behavioral symptoms. Depression has physical manifestations inside the brain. First of all, there are changes that could be seen with the naked eye and X-ray vision. These include smaller frontal lobes and hippocampal volumes. On a more micro scale,
Can you see me right now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I can't see me on the screen, so I can't see me put my hands up.
Oh, you can't?
No, I can't see my little box. I can only see yours.
Okay. Yeah, I can. I think I still got you. I think it's still like recording you fine.
Can you play like the last 10 seconds of that video? And then stop it again? Yeah, that's good.
Behavioral symptoms. Depression has physical manifestations inside the brain. First of all,
Right. Okay, stop that.
could be seen with the naked eye
In terms of recording, I don't think it matters too much as long as you don't exit anything. What your screen looks like. I think it's recording my screen. But go ahead.
Okay, so for the viewers, for your viewers and my viewers, I am diagnosed with major depressive disorder with mixed features.
Yeah,
which means that I have.
Just so you know, man, I kind of set up these videos to, as we were kind of talking about, to walk you through talking about some of this stuff, right? So
Right. No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
So go
because
ahead.
now they say it's frontal lobe, right? Frontal lobe was my injury. That's where I smashed my head in the car accident. So that's why all this stuff happened.
Which is right here, right?
Yeah, right in the front. Like my head went off the seat, off the front seat, because I didn't have a shoulder belt, right? So it went off the front seat. And that's where the impact of my brain injury was. And yeah, so I mean, it's all based on brain injury. So I have major depressive disorder with mixed features, which means that I have long-lasting depression and mania going on at the same time. So my mania is my hallucinations, my hallucinations that I've developed as a way to deal with the bad thoughts and negative thoughts and remembering bad dreams. And I've developed this way to avoid it. And that is another thing that drives me crazy. And it's all based on frontal lobe brain injury. So that just kind of hit home for me, because not only is depression in your frontal lobe, but that's also the part of my brain that I have the injuries.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where it's all kind of manifested from, right? So I don't have depression like my whole life. I wasn't a depressed kid, right? And because I have mania, I don't really feel depressed. My depression manifests in much different ways, like not taking care of myself, like not getting up and doing my routine like I should, not having zero love for things that I once used to enjoy. Like I used to record music every day. Now I just don't even care about it. I don't even. It's like it never existed, right? I can't get behind the microphone anymore like I used to, unless I'm forcing myself to do it. Now the outcomes of forcing myself to do it, like the attention that I get and the people saying, "Hey, that was wicked," I enjoy that part of it still, because my medication is a dopamine restrictor, so I still benefit from getting dopamine. Like I still really enjoy dopamine, but I don't have that need for dopamine like I always used to have every day of my life because of the medication, because it's an atypical antipsychotic, which means it's a dopamine restrictor. So I don't have the same urge for dopamine that I used to have. I still enjoy it when I get it, but I don't seek it like I used to seek it, because I don't enjoy the things that I used to enjoy nearly as much as I used to enjoy them.
Which is the most common sentence to characterize depression that there is.
That's right. That's right.
It's like,
now I don't have suicidal thoughts. Like I don't think about, hey, I want to kill myself. I don't ever think that. I never have. But in my dreams, I die every time. Every dream, I die a brutal death. I don't know what that says.
You know what's an interesting side note that's not a direct response to that, but so sometimes I talk to my students about Freud, and one of the interesting things about Freud that people forget is that he was a medical doctor, right? And because it was before there were psychologists, and so people would come in and be telling them about their problems and keep wanting to tell him about their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Always wanted to tell him about their dreams. And he's
Right.
like, why do people always want to tell me about, like, because think of how much you're explaining your situation in context of your dreams, right?
Yeah. It's all based on my dreams.
Interesting that like the kind of father of psychology got into all that because people kept talking about, well, and it's really weird that we have these, HD full color crazy themed movies that play in our brain when we're like semi-conscious, when we're in deep sleep. Like dreams in general are insanely fascinating. But yeah, man, I kind of forget.
And that was a big part when I was getting diagnosed, when I was talking to the clinical psychiatrist. Excuse me. We mainly talked about my dreams. That's what we spent most of the time talking about, which is the root of all of my PTSD. Right? I don't have PTSD from events. I have it from dreams.
That's so unique. Not unique. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
so interesting. I meant to say. Yeah, it's I see what you're saying though. It's but because you're visualizing them so vividly and remembering them, they're much
Yeah.
closer to real experiences than typical dreams.
Yes, I feel like I've died a million times, a brutal death.
Because other people might be having those kind of negative dreams and be forgetting them.
Yeah, and they forget about it, and they wake up, they're shaken up for 5 minutes, and they forget about it. I remember every single one of them, man. They stick with me like real memories. But the thing is the last year of my life, I haven't been having bad dreams, and everything's been fantastic. Sure, I'm a little depressed, and I might be lethargic, and maybe not that motivated some of the times, but I'm not suffering anymore, right? And it's the suffering that's coming back now that I'm realizing, hey, I better up those meds that work so good, because now the suffering is coming back, and I don't want to start the vicious cycle. Because once you've been torn apart by somebody in your dreams a million times, you get pretty sick of being awake and being asleep. And that's what causes depression, because I have no desire to be awake or asleep, but I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I have too much good in my life to want to die. But it's this very, very uncomfortable state, sleeping and awake. You're always uncomfortable. You can't get any rest because you're dreaming. You can't get anything done during the day because you're obsessing. And it's just a vicious cycle. And once you do that for, like I did for 20 years straight without any type of intervention, it fucked with my head, right? And that's why I have cluster B personality disorder, right? They have an undefined cluster B personality disorder where I have traits of all the cluster Bs. So there's borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and there's one more. But I have traits of all of them, right? And I'm not defined distinctly under one umbrella of the cluster B personality disorders. I have traits of all of them. But with this medication I take, I don't dream, which doesn't cause me strife during the day. I get good sleep, and it all kind of works out. And then I don't display the traits of cluster B. I display the traits of cluster B when I'm suffering. When I'm not suffering, I'm a pretty normal guy, right? I have I have emotions that I can be responsive to.
Dude, let me jump in, man. You're not a decently normal guy. You're like one of my best friends, man. Your complexity is one of the coolest things about you, man. And I think the other thing is you're an interesting example. And I'm going to share this video with my students, and you're an interesting example for this idea of like, man, you certainly did not present as somebody that's depressed at all, especially
No.
like when we were younger. Like I would never have thought that, right? But part of that is the mask or whatever that we wear.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I developed ways to deceive people because I didn't want the sympathy.
Yeah.
So I developed ways to lie to people and deceive people. And I did that for my whole life, right? Like post car accident, like before the car accident, like we gotta remember this all has to do with an injury. It all starts with an injury. But before the injury happened, I wasn't depressed. I wasn't deceptive. I wasn't like that. I was a happy young kid. It was all based on this injury that did this to me, right? And I didn't get the help I needed. I turned down a lot of help that I could have got freshly after the accident. I turned it down because I was like, fuck that, there's nothing wrong with me.
It's a tough time in your life to be humble and accept help when you're a teenager, and you also
trying to just get better.
Well, and you also had physical injuries, right?
Tons.
Like nowadays to see you wouldn't even tell. But
no.
But you were recovering physically.
And honestly, man, like I broke my femur, both my wrists, my knee, my jaw, my skull, my ribs, my elbow. I broke all this stuff, and it doesn't even affect me today. I have zero pain. I don't have arthritis.
I know you're talking to me, but do you want to just take 2 seconds and just give a real quick about what happened? Just because.
Sure. Okay, so it was 1998. You're kind of getting quiet on me, Mainz.
Oh, okay. Here, you tell the story. I'm just gonna fill up my water.
Yeah. So I was 16 years old. I was on my way to a McDonald's Christmas party. We're in the left-hand lane on the highway speeding. Apparently the court cases said that we were going 156 kilometers per hour. The driver of my car went to change lanes into the middle lane. There was 3 lanes of traffic. So she looked over her right shoulder, saw a car, overcorrected. We went on 2 wheels through the median and got T-boned by 3 cars as we were rolling. And we ended up in the ditch on the other side of the car too, or on the other side of the highway. So what happened to me is on impact, and I remember it now. I didn't remember it for most of my life, but in the last 10 years, I've got the memories of the actual accident coming back to me. So on impact, the impact hit my right leg and it shattered my right femur. And my leg just kind of wrapped around my body. And then we started rolling. And as we started rolling, my wrists braced the roof. And I'm not sure when I hit my head. I think it was after I was unconscious. So my wrists braced the roof and the roof caved in on me and my wrist broke. And then I smashed my head on the roof or the seat or whatever. And I was in a coma. I was pronounced dead on the scene as they got one of the other girls who was injured in the car out of the car. They cut her out of the car. And then I started making some noise. So the firemen cut me out of the car and they took me to KW Hospital in Ontario. And they stabilized me, but they couldn't. I needed brain surgery because I had a whole bunch of swelling going on in my brain from the concussions. So they sent me to Hamilton McMaster University for pediatrics. I was 16, so I was under 17, so I was still a pediatric.
Just a quick point, that's like, that was the only thing anyone at our high school was talking about.
It was intense.
That was man, I know that now you can tell it just like a
reel.
Getting all like the Coles Notes points, right?
Yeah.
Fuck. That was man, and so basically what we're talking about is now that was what?
22 years ago. 22 years this December.
2 years ago.
Yeah. Chaos.
Yeah, man.
And I suffer more now than I did then. Honestly. The mental strife is so much worse than the physical pain. The physical pain gets better. The bones heal, the tendons heal, the muscles heal. The brain doesn't heal. All you can do is feed it something to make it work properly. And that's where I'm in now, where I have a constant balance where I have to feed my brain chemicals for it to work properly or to work in a way that's comfortable. Right? Because it was building. It wasn't always bad. Like, in my early 20s, I was pretty good. I was developing ways to be deceptive about my actual condition, but it's mainly because I didn't understand my condition. I had no words to describe what I was going through, so I was almost alienating myself because I couldn't really understand what I was going through.
Wilk, we wouldn't have been able to have this conversation when we were both 20.
No, exactly. We wouldn't have had the insight.
And that's
and the life experience.
That's one of the reasons because I think the other thing I want my students to understand is like you're also a very successful person. And I think one of the important things is this whole like resiliency piece, and like then you fought back and put a lot into, finding a functional way to make things work for you, man.
Yeah.
You got an awesome kid, an awesome lady. Like it's
booking stores.
Why don't you read a poem, man?
All right.
Not to put you on the spot, but
see if I can find one of
the video. And guys, students, if you or anybody watching on either channel, we're gonna SwapCast this on both channels.
Yeah, we're gonna put it on both our channels.
If the video is jumpy or something, maybe we'll just release this as a podcast, but we'll see.
Well, as long as YouTube doesn't fucking ban it.
For what?
I don't know. They'll find a way. No, they won't ban this.
They won't ban those videos because it'll just be just fair use. It's fine.
I'm going to read you a poem called Join My Cult. It's from my book, The Book of 1,000 Poems, volume 1 through 4. You can get it worldwide. Just search Conscience in the Book of 1,000 Poems. You can find it. Join my cult. Come follow me. You've been neglected, forgotten. Families called you rotten and useless. You're ruthless with bruises. You deserve your own cruise ships. Society, I'll set you free. When I look into your eyes, I'll fix your poor minds. I'll recover your lives. I'll make you all my wives. Yes, me. Focus on me. We'll drive our demise and we fail to reprise. Do what we need to survive or else we'll die. But as one family. So, won't you come follow me? And that's a take on the antisocial personality disorder traits that I have, which is lack of emotion and deceitfulness, which doesn't really exist anymore because my meds kind of take care of all my cluster B shit. But that's I wrote that. Now this book that I have in stores, I wrote when I was suffering the most I've ever suffered before I was medicated. This is when I wrote that when I was having a mental breakdown.
Can you hold
that
it up
whole
again?
book.
Hold it up again. So this is the book of 1,000 poems.
You can't miss it. It's got a fat guy with tattoos on the cover, holding the guitar naked. See, my whole body's naked.
It is
Can't
quite
miss it.
a visually catching cover.
I've been kind of criticized for not making the title of the book more geared around mental health. But the book with 1,000 poems is just what it was to me, because there's 3 books, right? Only one's been published. There's 2 more that I wrote during this same state that aren't published yet. And the tale gets deep because I wrote these ones when I was just starting to really, really suffer and needed a coping mechanism of writing, which I still use today. But the last 2 books, things were much worse with me. Like the 3rd book, I was in peril.
Okay, so Wilk, I want you to go on, and if people are wondering why I keep calling you Wilk, it's just your
Last name's Wilkie.
Yeah. So I want you to talk about how you have used your music and stuff like that as a bit of a channel for you to work through that stuff.
It's all just it's
Sorry, man.
sidetracking myself.
I want to just stop you for a sec because another thing is you've mentioned several times the word deceitful, and I've never viewed you as that, and I'm wondering why you keep saying that.
Because I lied about what I was feeling all the time, every day. I didn't even realize I was lying at the start. It was just to avoid confrontation of reality. So someone says, "How you doing?" Even though I'm hearing a noise that's driving me crazy and I feel like fucking the worst I've ever felt. I don't want to confront that feeling. So I lie and say, "I'm doing fine. How are you?" It's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. When people ask you how you're doing, that's how I was deceitful, because at work, if I was working a long shift and everything sucked and it was a really busy night in the restaurant or whatever, and someone asked me how I was doing, even if I'm suffering, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, I just said I'm doing fine, because I didn't want to face the music, right? I wasn't ready to face the music. I don't think I had the information that I could possibly process to deal with the situation, because the thoughts they were having, I don't want to go telling people in a regular day conversation that, "Oh yeah, last night some guy in my dreams that I couldn't see his face ripped off every single one of my limbs and then beat me with them." I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to present myself as that. I want to present myself as something I was not. Well, I was not happy, but I wanted to present myself as being happy. Who wants to hear every time that I talk, I'm telling a horrific dream that I had the night before that's still haunting me all day? I avoided it. So I was deceitful to protect myself from facing the music.
And I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate, whether or not they can relate to the specifics of that example, with the underlying idea of hiding things that are troubling them while kind of putting on this mask, or this more presentable front, right?
Less invasive personality. Because if I was talking about everything that I was thinking, people would think I was batshit crazy, because I was, and I didn't want people to know it, because I was too strong and my ego was too high.
I don't know if you're crazy though, or if you're just having very disturbing, vivid dreams. Like,
yeah, well, that's where it all started. But then now they're haunting me during the day, and I'm making bad decisions that aren't based on what I want. It's based on avoiding my thoughts, and all of my words, all of my actions were based on avoiding the real music, avoiding facing the music. And facing the music was getting to a fucking psychiatrist and getting someone who knows what they're talking about to assess me. I was avoiding that for my whole life. When I turned it down, when I was 19, I walked out of a psychological evaluation. I walked out of it pissed off, because some of the questions they were asking me and some of the surveys that they were assessing me on, some of the questions they were asking me were so insulting at that point in my life that I was on crutches, but I fucking crushed the fuck out of there as fast as I could and told them all to fuck off. Told them all off. And then forgot about it. And then just buried it. I'm like, nothing can help me. I buried it. And as I learned more about what I was experiencing, it became worse. Everything got worse. And it just got worse for 20 years until it got to the point where I finally met my wife, someone who I could actually be honest with and not have her judge me. So I told her everything. She's like, you need to go talk to somebody. And she's the reason I did.
Good.
She's the reason I did it. I wouldn't have done it without her. I'd still be living the same daydream bullshit life that I was living before. Now I'm living an honest life, and I'm honest in town. I wrote a book about in the disclaimer. I call it a disclaimer. It's more of like an introduction, but it's more of a disclaimer saying I wrote this in the worst time of my life, and I'm giving it to the world. Here's what I was thinking. Here's how my brain was working in the worst times of my life. And I can just thank my wife so much for getting me to that psychiatrist, because a psychiatrist, I was turned down by 2 that didn't feel qualified to deal with my situation, but then I found one, and he was the best. He was the best thing for me. Solved my problems. With drugs. All I can say, if you're suffering from PTSD, go get some drugs. They work. See a psychiatrist. Get the proper diagnosis. Get on the drugs. They work. I'm living proof. There's medications available out there that do work.
Yeah, like I would certainly recommend to anybody out there struggling to certainly reach out and get professional support, because things like PTSD, well, it can create such a distortion between your memory and your emotional center, where all of a sudden now you're having these vivid dreams that are actually interfering with your ability to kind of function and make it through the day and keep a norm and maintain, stability in your marriage and be a dad and all these responsibilities that you now have as a 37-year-old, right? So that, because he's 1 year my junior. But yeah,
I got 38 coming up in September.
Yeah. But man, I think absolutely there's, and I'm not going to talk like I'm an expert on medication, but
you're the PhD, bro.
But I think it's important to support people to reach out and to get support.
Go get help.
Yeah.
Go to emergency. See, I have bad thoughts. I have terrible thoughts, and I need to talk to somebody who can help me with it right now. Go to emergency. Check yourself in. For sure.
Yep, because things change, man. Things change, and you think through some of your dark moments 10 years ago, you might not have thought that now you'd have, a beautiful wife, an awesome son, like live in beautiful BC with.
I didn't have the time to even ponder those type of things. I was too infatuated with my darkness to even comprehend thinking outside the box at that point in my life. 10 years ago, I was not thinking anything except what was happening inside my brain in that minute. And that's why I was so irresponsible and made so many bad decisions, especially regarding employment, like walking out of places and telling people off, because I did not have the bandwidth to deal with any type of aggression or drama outside of my own problems, right? But the thing is that I didn't tell anybody that I had problems. So they just saw me as this snapcase who didn't have a build-up of 20 years of brain injury behind them, pushing them in directions they didn't want to go in.
Well, I bet you almost all of my buddies on kind of like, for my students or whatever, like I grew up going to school in Kitchener, but then went to high school in Elmira. So, and Wilk lived in Elmira. And, when I say like my Kitchener buddies, guys like Carrington and Boderman and Sacramento and those guys, like none of those guys would know any of this backstory about you. Like by the time, unless you tell people, that's the thing about like, you don't, and I don't know what I mean by this, but you don't present as any of that. Like you definitely could meet somebody in at a cafe for lunch and not know any of that about you.
Yep.
Right. And this willingness to talk about this so freely, it's not like you were doing that when you were 19.
No, I wasn't doing it till the last couple years of my life. I'd say the last 2 years I've been talking about it openly and aggressively openly, because it's the only way that I can have comfort in real relationships. Because if I'm trying to have a new friendship, like especially moving to a new town out in BC, I'm trying to develop new friendships. I'm very honest about my darkness that I have inside me, because it's the only way that I can prepare people for the worst. Like, I might go manic and have a bad day, and it's nothing personal to you. I got my own shit that I'm dealing with. And I don't want people to think that I'm someone that I'm not. I'm someone who's brain injured and has mental disorders.
Yeah,
and I want people to know that.
No, see, because I don't know how much I should push back on that, because you're also, that's not the only thing you can lead with.
It's true.
Right?
But it's the most important to me.
Yeah. Oh, you said you started that with the whole idea of making close friends.
Close friends, you need to know this about me if you're going to be my close friend, because I can't be your close friend without you knowing it.
Right.
You can't get close to me unless you know these things about me.
Well, and in a lot of ways, a lot of your art makes more sense when you know all this too.
Yeah. Especially if you look at some of the hip hop that we used to do back in the years. You know, that
he used to do. I helped him with some of the mastering. Now you're gonna make all my students think I was a rapper. But yeah.
No, you weren't a rapper. You were a creative guider.
Yeah.
You were my creative guidance counselor.
But Wilk, man, why don't you take 2 minutes and talk about we'll end this in a couple minutes, but why don't you just talk a little bit about what you did do musically? Because I remember you all the way back at like Sponge Cookie and stuff like that. And then obviously more of your solo career and then you're kind of where you're going in with your book and stuff like that. I'll give you.
Well, I played in a punk rock band in high school. We were pretty talented. Actually, there's 3 people in the band, 5 people at one point, but the 3 core founding members of the band, 2 of them are now GPs, general practitioners. Very smart guys. I was always rolling around smart guys. We got Vorst, who's a plastic surgeon. We got you, who's a PhD. I got 2 medical doctor buddies. I have a whole bunch of really smart people in my network. So I started off in a punk rock band in high school. Then I played in a punk rock band in high school. And then computers with recording software were invented. So I figured, okay, well, these bands aren't going anywhere.
Well,
Everyone's going.
You said you started as a punk band, and then you started as a punk band in high school. The same thing.
Yep.
Now you went Sponge Cookie. Okay, so what were the names though? Sponge Cookie.
Sponge Cookie was a punk rock band.
Yeah.
The Culprits was a punk rock band.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then there was the Junkyard Trio in Montreal. But then in Montreal, I bought a computer, and it was a Mac, and it had GarageBand on it. So I started being able to write a drum beat on GarageBand, and then play guitar and bass and vocals and lay down. So then in 2006, I got signed to a record label called This Dark Empire Records, and they made me a solo record with 18 tracks on it called Broken Bone Poetry.
Oh yeah, Broken Bone Poetry, and that's obviously a reference to the accident, right?
Yep. That was my entrance into solo punk rock. I probably made a dozen punk rock albums, EPs, and then Mainland, your buddy Professor Mike over here, one day he calls me. I was living in Elmira. I bought a condo, and I was working at a restaurant and working for a community services company. And Mainz called me. He's like, "We're going to get you rapping." So, because I guess I used to rap a little bit at parties and stuff.
No, but Wilkie was okay. I'll just say this part.
Okay.
We'll make this part quick. But Wilkie used to be hilarious because you could rap about anything, and you could rap forever, and just almost like on command. So then I, me and Rob the one day were thinking like it'd be fun to take some instrumentals and record you on it. That led to the creation of Remixaholic, right? That was my Lyrical Fitness.
Oh yeah, right. Lyrical Fitness was the first 21 beats that you presented to me to rap to. Yeah, first time rapping ever behind a microphone recording. I had freestyled at parties and stuff, but that was the first time I ever recorded my rapping. And then that led into.
So what are you doing now?
That led into Spit Boss.
Yeah. Right.
Sorry?
What are you doing? What are you doing now? Are you doing mainly punk?
I just made a punk rock album in 2018. I've been doing a couple freestyle videos on YouTube. You can go check out on my channel. But I haven't really been making music, man, because I've been so comfortable in my own skin that I haven't needed the outlet. I'm not writing anymore. I'm not making music anymore. I'm just being happy around my family and enjoying life. Right? So I'm really not writing anymore.
Cool, man. Well, can you take the last like 90 seconds or something and just sum up some of this and say like how you're gonna move forward?
Well, first things first, I'm going to get my medication that I take up the dosage because, like I said, the dreams are coming back. So it's a nonstop battle. There's always something going on that I got to be aware of, whether it be symptomatic, whether it be like hallucinations. If I start noticing hallucinations, if I start noticing sleep deprivation or insomnia, there's always something that I got to be aware of. And I'm always thinking about what's happening in the present. You know, what am I experiencing right now and what can I do to fix it? Luckily, I found this medication that works wonders for me. It's called Latuda. Lorazepam is the medical name. It's an atypical antipsychotic. If you have schizophrenia, you probably tried it. And I recommend that what I'm doing for myself is maintaining my life by maintaining my medication, because I depend on that medication for comfort. And I've learned that in the last couple of years, that the only reason I can be comfortable is because of the drugs. Without the drugs, I'm a mess. And it's a perpetual mess. It just gets bigger and bigger and worse as time goes by. So the best thing I can do for myself is be honest with myself and not lie to myself and not forget about things. If I have a bad dream, I talk to my wife about it, we sort it out, and we try and work out ways that I can not think about it. You know, that's what's been going on now. I've been having a lot of bad dreams lately. So right now I'm worried about, okay, well, I've been having bad dreams, so I got to talk to my doctor again. It's knowing when to reach out for help. That's what's saving me right now, is being aware of when I need help and when I don't. And when I don't need help, I'm generally just waking up like any other person, you know, changing my kid's diaper, brushing his teeth, cooking him breakfast, you know, going golfing, whatever I'm doing. I'm just a regular guy when I'm on the medication and it's working properly. But now, like you said, I'm developing a bit of I forget, there's a word I've been searching for this entire podcast. And
tolerance.
You said, yeah, tolerance. That's it. You said resiliency, but tolerance is what I'm doing. So I have to be aware of my medical tolerance. That's like my main point in success right now, is just making sure that I'm taking the right medication at the right time for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. To keep on
having the humility and the maturity to reach out when you need support.
And that doesn't just involve doctors. That means because my new friendships that I'm developing, this is on the table, I can reach out to those friends too, and they understand that this is what I'm going through. So they're not surprised by it, and they can actually offer help. And sometimes all I need is someone to listen. Just got to get it off my chest so I don't have to bear it alone anymore. So I've created a world for myself where I can be fully honest about all of my things that I deal with on a regular basis with all of my friends. And that's that. I had to move to a new town to get that, because everybody else that I've ever known, like you included, has these preconceived notions of the man I might be from who I used to be. And that was never who I really was, that person that I was back, that I acted like back then. It was not full. I didn't understand myself enough to be honest with everybody. I wasn't just being dishonest with people. I was being very dishonest with myself.
No, I get what you're saying. It was, you were almost living the lie, right? To the point of
believing it.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like the individual things you were saying to people were individual lies. They were part of.
But they were huge lies that I believed myself.
Yeah. But this is the thing, is like, that's like how sometimes how we feel outside comes out into the external world. I could have thought of a better way to say that, but it's like, it's that, yeah, it's weird from my perspective hearing you say, well, it's not weird because we've talked about this, but if I hadn't seen you say since high school, hearing you say all this, I'd be like, whoa, really? Because I don't know, I've said this a few times, but
you never would have known.
Yeah. And I think that's true with so many people, though. That's why they call
It is true.
mental illness like
It's
such
the
a-
number one thing with PTSD is that no one is willing to be open about it because there's this societal structure that says it's bad.
Well,
And
and it's kind of hideable, right? It's hideable.
It's hideable, and it shouldn't be, because the only way that people with PTSD find comfort is through being honest about it. Because you have so many dark thoughts and so many bad dreams and so many days where you just can't get something terrible into your brain, that when people realize that that's happening, you can actually open up them to as a resource rather than something that you got to hide it from. You know, you can really expand your resources by being honest about your disability.
Yeah. It's weird how courageous you have to be to do that.
It was the most courage I've ever had is when I walked into that hospital and said, I need to talk to a psychiatrist right now. It was all because of my GP. My GP sent me in the right direction. A couple psychiatrists turned me down because they looked at my file and didn't feel that they had the qualifications to serve me. And then finally, after a couple shut me down, I went and talked to one, and it was the best thing I ever did. And it took a lot of courage, yeah, for sure. Especially just being honest with my parents about things.
Yeah.
You know, because my parents were just as alienated by myself as I was. Because they believed
they almost lost you, right? They almost lost you.
And they thought that everything was great. And I survived and everything was fine. But then I start being honest to them about, no, I'm still suffering. This car accident is still happening. And it has been happening every day for the last 22 years, right? And that made them realize, hey, we got to stand by this kid with whatever he does because he's doing what he has to do to get better.
Yeah.
Right?
So, man, I think on that note, man, if you want to use this, you can use this however you want. I was thinking originally that we'd like cut it up or whatever, but
I think we should just put it up there, man.
yeah, like I actually kind of like this format, man. If this sounds okay, like we should do more of this because it's.
Yeah, we should. You pick a topic, and it doesn't always have to be relevant to my life, as this one was. Like this is our first one, right?
Yeah, man. This is just practicing. It's like
We're just scratching the surface.
The reaction videos and stuff are cool, but it is a little gimmicky, and like at a certain point, I do want to move more into like actually like interviewing people and stuff, and I think like especially yeah, let's just see how it looks, man. I'll render it and I'll put it up and I'll get it to you so you can put it up on yours. We'll do the SwapCast thing and
awesome.
Yeah, man. Why don't I just stop recording and then we can still chat for a minute?
All right, cool, man. That was great. Thanks.
Yeah, man. Digital Academy. That's my YouTube. And do you want to just say your stuff quick?
My YouTube is Conscience, CONSHINZ. You can find me on the internet, in bookstores all over the world with that handle, Conscience.
All right, guys.
Just like my hat says.
And you know, I'm gonna probably not edit this much and just keep it raw and you know, just a conversation between buddies about some stuff we
deep
need
shit.
Society get better at talking about, because that's what keeps us sane, is realizing that we're all dealing with shit and that we need to, you know, pull each other through stuff.
Yeah, well said.
All right, dude. I'm gonna pause this and then we'll keep chatting for a sec.
Cool, man. See you, everybody.